Anthony Grassi for D3 Ticker here at the Women Leaders in Sports National Convention. Happy to sit down for another small college conversation with Nikki Ayers, Director of Athletics at Juniata College. Nikki, thank you so much for joining me.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So I want to first talk about your opportunity to go back to your alma mater to lead. Mm-hmm. Walk me through. I imagine that's might not be a difficult decision, I would imagine, but what did it mean to be able to go back to Juniata and be the Director of Athletics there?
Yeah, it's been a phenomenal experience, and it wasn't a difficult decision, but what I will say is it was really hard to leave Southern California and the weather there to go back to having all four seasons and all of that. But when the position opened up, it was just a really easy decision to try and apply for that and to go through the process. Going back, obviously Juniata in 2006 is different than 2022 when I started there. There's been a lot of growth and a lot of really great things that have happened at the college since I graduated. The athletic department has grown substantially to 24 sports, and the students are a little bit different than when I went to school as well too. So kind of adjusting within that, but it's been a phenomenal experience so far.
How did you kind of go through re-engraining yourself or re-assimilating back into that environment where you may know where a lot of things are, but the people have changed, maybe the culture has changed a little bit, mm-hmm. the landscape of higher education, small college athletics has changed drastically in that period of time. Yeah. How did you kind of re-ingrain yourself in all that? Yeah,
absolutely. So the one of the great things actually about Juniata is there are a lot of new people, but there's a lot of the same ones as well mm-hmm. too. And so our current faculty athletic representative, Randy Rosenberger, was actually one of my faculty members when I was a student athlete and an advisor in the sport management POE program. And so there's a lot of similarities and kind of just checking in with the people who have been there and kind of asking them how it's changed on their end as well too. But just kind of getting out and introducing myself to different, members across campus, whether it's faculty, student life staff, that's completely changed since I was a student as well too, and just kind of integrating myself within the campus was extremely important.
Do you still have, as we sit here right now, you are still the all-time leader in, you can correct me, points, goals, assists?
Career goals and assists.
Career goals and assists for women's soccer.
Actually, a student athlete that I coached my first time back to Juniata, Paula Pryor, ended up breaking my record when I was coaching as well too. So
that's awesome.
In terms of goals, which is great. Yeah. I really want those records broken. So.
What did it mean as somebody who has had that success to have the opportunity to step back into that role where you developed so much mm-hmm. For that institution, the leadership there to trust you to kind of lead it forward?
Yeah, I had such a great soccer career there. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to get into college athletics. I actually went in as a secondary education history POE. We don't call them majors, we call them programs of emphasis at Juniata. One of the things that I love about Juniata is they put you in the classroom right away, fall of your first year. And I realized teaching was not for me. And so I had to kind of look internally, and one of the other great things about Juniata is we have two advisors. So I talked to my two advisors and then my head coach at the time, and they were like, well, what do you actually want to do? And I was like, well, I want to work in athletics and I kind of want to coach soccer. I thought I had to teach to do that. And funny enough, my coach was like, well, you can work in college athletics, mm-hmm. right? And I was like, oh, is that real? And, as an 18-year-old, you don't really know, and that wasn't really a path that I knew existed, to be honest. And so kind of set me on the path there. And so being able to have such a successful career soccer-wise there, where I really was able to find a love for the game again after high school. I was in high school, I played for 3 different teams. I played for my high school team, I played for a competitive club team out of Philadelphia, and I played ODP. And so soccer was more of a job for me.
Yeah.
I did have a couple of Division I offers, but decided that I really didn't want it to be a job still. And so decided to go to Division III, fell in love with Juniata, and Juniata made me love the game again and made me love sports again. And so when I got into college athletics, I really wanted to give back, and I want to kind of pay that forward, because there's a lot of people like me out there. There's a lot of students out there that are looking for just the best fit for them. And D3 athletics is super competitive. Don't get me wrong. There is nothing, you know, different from D1, D2, D3. The student athletes still love the game and they still want to play and they still want to be super competitive. And so I was able to find that balance between loving the sport and being competitive. And so when I became an athletic administrator, that's been kind of one of my things, is making sure that like student athletes kind of get that transformational experience, that they love what they're doing within their sport, but they're also getting a quality education and a great student experience.
How does that competitiveness, how do you kind of, as the athletic director, how do you work to kind of instill that? Because you're kind of a step removed from.
Yeah.
You're not X's and O's. You're not setting the formation for team.
Yep.
What does that look like for you in your chair right now?
I am still extremely competitive. I don't like to lose. And so one of the reasons that I ended up coming back to Juniata from CMS, who's an extremely competitive Division III athletic department, to Juniata, who fairly, like, we're at the bottom of the Landmark Conference right now. It's my job and to try and build our program, to instill confidence in our coaches and confidence in our student athletes, that why not us? And, you know, and try and transform the experience that they're having there into a more competitive experience, and so we get ourselves out of the bottom of the conference. Proud to say right now our men's soccer program's at the top of the conference, 4-0. Our women's soccer program's tied for 4th, field hockey tied for 3rd, and so we're making those strides, and we're really doing our job as a department and instilling confidence in our student athletes, that they can do it, that they can put in all of the work that they do in the off season with sport performance, everything that they do on the field, the court, the pool, everything that they're doing can lead to success on the field as well too. And so for me, it's really about kind of going in and believing in yourself, and that's something that I really want all of our coaches to be able to have, and then that trickles down to our students as well too, and kind of instilling that like confident piece of things into what we do.
Yeah, that belief that you can achieve.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thinking back to your time at CMS and other roles before, what were some of the moments that helped prepare you to sit in the chair?
Oh, that's a great question. One of the things I will say that I love and hate about D3 athletics is you wear a lot of different hats. So I had the ability to, be a part of the facility staff. I was an event manager for the D3 National Tennis Championships in 2018. I did compliance. I did human resources for athletics. And so while I understand work-life balance is a thing, I really like to say it's kind of work-life integration. My husband works in collegiate athletics as well too for a D3 conference, and we just kind of manage and balance, and it's not really a balance, but if you have the ability to pick up any other responsibilities and kind of fill gaps for your department, that's something that I feel like you should opt into, because it's going to prepare you for the next step, and you're gonna have a lot more to go into stepping into the AD role at that point. I will say, dealing with kind of crisis, situations as well too was important. I was at CMS during COVID, and we were in LA County. In LA County, we did not come back in the Claremont colleges for 18 months. A lot of schools came back after 6 months, a year. They went remote and had hybrid on campus. We had no students for 18 months. And kind of dealing with the expectations from the students, from the families, from the parents, from the alumni, and also dealing with and working with our student life office and the administration at the college with LA County as well too was a great kind of onboarding piece to like that crisis response in terms of like how you deal with just different constituents around campus, but then also in your local community.
I'm interested to think about, maybe some of those lessons that you've picked up from leaders, either, thinking maybe all the way back to your playing days, that maybe helped you, through some of those challenges you had at CMS. Obviously, hopefully those challenges don't come back ever again, but or the challenges that you face right now, because the moments that we learn from can come in any form, but the lessons that you can take out of them can be applied to infinity number of circumstances or scenarios. So what are some of those key moments of leadership that you've picked up throughout your career?
One is about kind of having grit and a good work ethic. That is something that I firmly believe in. It's funny. I talk to my daughter all the time, and she's started her first year of high school soccer and plays for a fairly competitive club right now. And the one thing I always say is, like, I don't care if you have a bad game, but did you give 100% effort every single minute that you were out there on the field? And that really is all that matters, is that you are giving 100% all the time, and you're stepping up when you need to. The other thing that is a huge thing for me, and my staff knows this, and anyone who's worked with me knows this, is being a good human being. Like, it's funny, I can't say what rule number one is in our department, but it's along the lines of don't be a jerk. Don't be a jerk. And I firmly believe that. I think as long as you come in with what your values are, one of the things I learned in the NCAA Pathway program, one of the presenters came in and said, you need to have values of conviction, not values of convenience. And for me, the core values that I bring to my department, I don't necessarily believe everyone should have those, but they should have their own, and they should have some non-negotiables of who they are as people, and being a good human being is going to get you far. Being willing to pitch in, being flexible with kind of your time, your schedule, and then working as hard as you possibly can for other people.
In your role that you're in now, there's a lot going on,
Yeah.
as you know probably better than me. But you do have the benefit of your president serving as chair of the President's Council for D3. How valuable has that been as things continue to change?
Yeah, it's been great. Jim is very much a champion and an advocate for athletics as a whole, and especially Division III athletics, and what that means for not only just the student athletes, but the campus community and kind of campus vibrancy, and how we present ourselves to the local community as well too. It's been extremely helpful to have someone on campus to talk about kind of the larger issues around, what is it going to mean in terms of amateurism and paying athletes, and what does that do to Division III. We are growing our rosters at Juniata in terms of how many student athletes we have, and we've grown by 5 sports since 2017. What does that mean in terms of athletic training? That's a point that the NCAA is making right now around, what are we doing with athletic trainers? There's less of them, and we need to meet the needs of taking care of our student athletes, but then also, taking care of them as well too. There has to be a work-life balance with that, and having someone who is knowledgeable on those kind of conversations and being able to kind of game plan what that means for us has been huge.
Yeah, imagine having somebody that is just to even bounce off of even the frustrations, even if there's not an easy solution that you have identified right now. I imagine that is incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get you out of here on this. We'll talk kind of the big winner, I guess, in Juniata is women's volleyball, which is on a historic streak right now.
Yeah.
We're 79 in a row, as we
79
sit here
in a
right
row,
now.
yep.
How is that impacting maybe the vibe around the athletic department, where you have a program that's had that level of success? We're not talking about just like one good season, a good part of a season, a run at the end to kind of make a deep postseason run. We're talking about multiple years of outstanding success. What does that really mean for the vibe of the department?
Yeah, I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, I think as someone who, I was actually around for the first national championship in 2004, which was super cool to experience that as a student, as compared to like the athletic director when we won in 22 and 23. But, the vibe of the department, to be perfectly honest with you, is just kind of lifting each other up within that space. And so instead of, I can imagine there are some, I haven't been a part of any, but I can imagine there could be some kind of hard feelings around a team that might be more successful than the other programs. But to be perfectly honest with you, we celebrate it, and we celebrate it a lot. Our men's volleyball program is super successful as well too. They won 9 Molten volleyball championships before the NCAA picked it up as a sponsored sport. And so volleyball in general has been huge at Juniata. For me, Heather and Casey, our coaches, make it extremely easy because they are the most humble people. There is no flaunting of it. There is no, there is no kind of like we're better or anything. It was funny. I think Heather actually the other day texted our AthCom team and was like, "Hey, what's the like 76 graphic that you guys are making?" And they're like, "Well, Heather, you beat the record, like 76 wins in a row." And she's like, "Oh yeah, so like it's not even like on the radar. We're
Yeah.
focusing on like what is the next match, what is the next step for that team." They don't look way ahead, to be honest with you, which I think is phenomenal. I think Larry Bach built a phenomenal program, and Heather has been able to continue that great tradition, and Casey being an alum as well too, coming back and helping us within that space, and the consistency of the coaching really matters. The more you turn over coaches, the less consistency you're going to have with that. And so only having 2 head coaches in the history of that program has been huge. But what I will say is the campus is completely behind our volleyball program. We have watch parties. When the championships were in Pittsburgh, we had a bus come and take our students, and so it was almost like a home match, which
Yeah.
was really cool. But at the end of the day, I think everyone in the department, in terms of the department vibe, champions our volleyball programs, but the volleyball programs also champion the rest of our sports. And so when I got to Juniata, the big thing is everyone says, "Oh, where do you work?" And they say, "Juniata." "Oh, volleyball. Volleyball's great." And that's the one immediate thing that people think of. And my goal as the athletic director is be like, athletics. Athletics is great at Juniata, in addition to the academic piece of things. And so, for me, the volleyball program being who it is and how good they are, and the fact that they're so humble, and the fact that they push everyone else to be better, it's just a great competitive environment that really helps with our kind of department culture.
Are there steps that you think about to kind of elevate the overall brand from people thinking volleyball to people thinking athletics as a whole?
For me, and this is something that as we talk through kind of our strategic plan within the department, one of the things that, I believe fully in is you do the small things correctly, consistently, day in and day out, and the success is going to come. And that's something that our coaches have embraced, and we're seeing it pay off in a lot of our sports right now, which is phenomenal. We have a lot of actually young coaches, but we also have a handful of veteran coaches that are still there that are helping to mentor those young coaches. So we have a great kind of mix in terms of the department. But at the end of the day, I think adopting that, let's not try to bite off more than we can chew right away, and kind of let's do the small things that we can control the controllables, and let's try to make sure that we're just kind of doing everything that we need to consistently day in and day out, and we're seeing that pay off. It's great.
Every day, you're getting 1% better, lay the
Every
bricks until
day.
you build it on.
Exactly.
Exciting. Nikki, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.